always joke and say that we're independent with a small I. When it comes to our agencies, we are influenced by the executive branch. We're influenced by the legislative branch, and yes, most importantly, we're influenced by the American public. So at the end of the day, I think it's important for us to keep consumers' interests first. Never forget, no matter where the political winds may blow, that we are accountable for those 320 million plus people in the United States who have certain expectations of regulators. They want to be included. They want the freedoms and opportunities to be able to navigate in this space. And we have a responsibility. I have a responsibility as a regulator to ensure that their rights are looked after, and at the end of the day, that won't change for me.
Right.
And if we allow ourselves to be in some type of political or regulatory bubble, we will pay a price that I don't think needs to happen.
And Commissioner McSweeny, before you answer, I just want to ask you a question. And Commissioner Clyburn, you see yourself working with Chairman Pai then on that infrastructure stuff, some infrastructure on rural broadband deployment efforts?
Absolutely. When we talk about when the president talks about infrastructure, I am hopeful that infrastructure includes technology infrastructure,
right? We all are
broadband and the like, because again, we're not really talking about connecting and improving and building communities if that is not a part of the equation.
Yeah, and I if you haven't read the Solutions 2020, there is remarks about infrastructure. And the chairman just recently gave out money to rural broadband deployment in New York State, which I know, again, hopefully we'll see some partisanship or some bipartisan consensus around some of those issues. I want to get to questions at Brookings. We do want to answer your questions. I want to just give Commissioner McSweeny time, and then we'll pass the microphone around.
Sure. Well, I'll be super brief.
Influenced by the executive office?
As I said at the outset, the FTC is primarily an enforcement agency, which means that generally what we're doing is looking at our legal authority, considering a set of facts, making a decision that is a law enforcement decision based on the set of facts, and pursuing a case or not pursuing a case. So we have a 100-year history of being relatively bipartisan agency. I firmly believe that commitment to bipartisanship, and I should add, under the modern commission, I think if you looked at the cases and the way the Democrats and Republicans on the commission have voted, 90% of the time or even more, we have agreed on bringing the cases. That's because keeping the marketplaces functioning, free of anti-competitive practices, free of fraud and scams, is actually an incredibly bipartisan issue. And so I think of our mission as a very pro-markets mission, pro-consumer mission for sure. It's not always a pro-business mission, right? And I think what's important is to distinguish between being a sort of referee in the marketplace and being clear about our uses of our law enforcement authority versus really favoring individual incumbents. So one of the things that I really hope we continue to do on a bipartisan basis is apply our laws equally. I expect that we will do that to make sure that we're vigorous in enforcing antitrust laws and consumer protection laws. I hope we will do that too. We have a bipartisan track record of doing that. To continue to study the marketplace, a thing the FTC does quite a lot of, I think is really valuable. And I think, again, is really important in helping inform people of what's happening in the markets, but also in informing our enforcement mission as well. And finally, I think, really making sure that we are bringing enough expertise into the agency to make sure that we're making sensible decisions. Obviously, providing clear guidance is equally important. None of these aspects of our mission are controversial at all. I think it's incredibly important that we remain independent. So I'm skating a little bit around the idea of political interference here. Historically, we really haven't experienced a lot of interference. I think we are separate from the executive branch, and I would hope that, as Commissioner Clyburn points out, we don't operate in a vacuum, but I would hope that our individual law enforcement decisions remain decisions that are free from political influence.